Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. It has been a hot minute since I did my last palette bingo and I'm feeling super inspired to do one and really excited to hop into doing one today. So that is what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a look with completely randomized eyeshadows from my eyeshadow palettes. I wasn't really too sure which palette I wanted to reach for in today's video, so I actually asked my fiance Patrick and he went through and kind of looked through some of my palettes and he selected the Urban Decay Born to Run palette for the palette bingo. Now when I look at this palette, I feel like I could probably come up with a good variety of different looks from it on my own, as well as through the randomization. I think a lot of it is quite cohesive. Could end up going in a completely different direction than I could ever expect, but I do think while this is a very playful palette in some regards, it is still quite wearable and I am excited to use this for a palette bingo. I do think that this is a really good option for a palette bingo, but I do think I have done one or two already on my channel previously, so I decided I am going to take it up a notch and we are going to roll in a second palette to create the full look with. So I'm going to be actually randomizing just 3 shades from my Born to Run palette, and then I'm also going to be pulling in 2 shades from this little palette right here. This is the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. This is a newer to me palette. I got it last year in the springtime, so just shy of a year old, but it is one of my newest palettes in my collection. And I do feel like these impactful metallics and much more vibrant tones are going to really elevate the look potentially from the Born to Run palette. I actually feel like these color stories are really complementary and I just think this will be a lot of fun. I am going to randomize my eyeshadows using the Pretty Random app. And so from the Born to Run palette, let's pull the first 3 shades. So I have variables 1 to 21 available. So let's just pull the first shade, which is going to be shade number 6. Okay, this is funny. Looking in the palette, I'm gonna go in the rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 is the shade Riff, and I have been reaching for this palette really often, still trying to hit pan on Riff from my previous Pan Those eyeshadows. So yeah, that's funny that I selected that one. Maybe today will be the day that I hit pan on it, but it is this gorgeous like mid-tone warm brown shade. The next selection is going to be shade number 21, and that should be the last shade in the palette, correct? Yeah. And shade 21 is this one right here called Big Sky. This is a shade that I also have already a lot of progress on. I use this very frequently. This is kind of a muted blue tone. It's got a very silvery and almost minty kind of element to it, almost like a steel kind of color, but it definitely has that greenish blue sort of flip to it. I am excited and also a little bit nervous to see what else is going to go with this in this color story. So let's pull the last shade from Born to Run. And the last shade I'm gonna work on is shade number 7. So that's also in the top row, and that is the one that is right beside Riff, and it's the shade Good as Gone, which is this chocolatey brown kind of tone. I think this is a gorgeous shade. So hopefully from the Geodes palette, we end up pulling some of the metallics instead, because this is a very wearable kind of color palette thus far. And so switching gears a little bit, I did actually switch up my Pretty Random app so we can move into the Geodes palette selections now. So I have 1 to 12 in here instead. And the first shade is gonna be shadow number 2 in the palette. Again, I'm gonna be going in rows. And this is one of my favorite shadows that I pull from very frequently, actually from this palette. It is the shade called Crystal, which is that beautiful kind of purple to blue sort of shade. It is absolutely stunning. I freaking love the metallics in this palette. Look at that texture. Look at that texture and that dimension. And that is gonna go perfectly with Big Sky. So I absolutely can't wait for that. And then the final shade could really throw a wrench in things, but let's give it a go. So the very last shade in my color palette is going to be shade number 7 in the palette. And that, my friends, is going to be perfection, I feel like, with the shades Crystal and Big Sky as well. So shade number 7 is the shade called Rose Quartz in this palette. Again, it's one of the metallics and it is a pale kind of rosy tone. It has kind of a reddish sort of undertone, but it has this peachy, light baby pink kind of color to it as well. And it is just incredible. And I think it's just gonna pair so, so well. So that is a really beautiful color palette that I am really thrilled to throw onto my eyelids. So let's get on freaking into that. So I thought I'd just zoom you in and bring you really close up as well. And because I know the formulation of the Geodes palettes metallics, although they're really, really beautiful, they do tend to have a lot of fallout. And I just came in from a very cold walk. It feels like -20 Celsius outside right now. I'm gonna put on some of these Pacifica reusable eye masks actually to kind of keep things clean so I can just wash the eye mask, but also to hydrate everything and just to like give myself a surge of hydration and moisture under my eyes. So I'm going to be trying these out for the very first time. These are so, so cute. They're reusable eye masks. And I did get these in PR from Pacifica at the tail end of last year and I haven't yet tried them out. So I'm going to be using them in tandem with the Fix Emergency Eye Mask from Versed. And I'm going to apply this actually on to my under eyes just as I normally would. But then I'm going to put the mask on to kind of like seal it all in place. And then let's try these out. Definitely very sticky, so I think that's a good sign. So let's get on into the eye look. I am going to prime my eyes first and then set everything down in place. So I'm just using my go-to, which is the Flower Beauty eyeshadow primer. That's what I have on hand, so I'm just gonna be using that. And even though this wasn't one of my selected shades from Born to Run, I am gonna use the shade Breakaway, which is kind of like a satiny cream shade, and I'm just gonna use that to set everything down. No matter what, I always have to set my eyeshadow primer, and that's because, as you can see right there, it's already creasing on me, and that always helps me get more longevity out of my eyeshadow looks, and it just helps things blend a lot better as well, in my opinion. So we're gonna go into Riff, which is that warm brown shade. That's gonna be my transition kind of crease shade, and I'm really hoping to hit pan on it today, but I don't think that's gonna be the case for me. I'm just using a really loose and fluffy brush. I don't want to deposit too much impactful pigmentation because I feel like this warm brown tone doesn't really jive with the rest of the shades in this palette, so I want it to be a little bit more softer. Yeah, still no pan. I'm surprised. I've been reaching for this eyeshadow a ton, and I'm actually really liking the way that this is blending in with Breakaway, because Breakaway has that sheen to it. This is really helping it to feel a little bit softer. The next thing I'm gonna go into is Big Sky, and as you can see, this is just a mess around this pan because I do use this a lot. I'm gonna try to use it with a brush to begin with, but I actually think I'll probably end up having to go in with my finger because I do find this gets way more impact with a finger instead. But I'm gonna try it out with the brush because I almost want it to be a little bit more subtle given the types of shadows that we're working with. And I'm just applying this to like the outer third of my eye, but kind of in an angled shape. So far the eye masks are doing really good to actually catch some of the fallout. That blue did have a little bit of fallout, so this is really nice. Preemptively, I'm going to go in with my glitter glue because I know that the Geodes palette shimmers do tend to need something that they can adhere to a little bit better. As you can see, I am running very low on this product. I use it so much. It really does help me make looks much more impactful and long lasting as well. And I'm gonna put this over the entirety of the lid, including on top of that blue, I think. I think I'm gonna use the blue as almost like a base below the other metallics so that it creates a little bit more added dimension. And I'm taking the glue up into my crease too because I don't know, I'm looking at Riff and I feel like it's just too warm in comparison to what the other shadows kind of need. They need something a little bit more cool. So I'm just gonna almost like, not delete it, but use it as a way of creating a shadow and not an apparent kind of color on my lid. So anyways, all that aside, I'm gonna go into the shade Crystal, and I'm using my ring finger to apply it. I am going to try to like get some of the texture off of it because it is quite a flakier kind of consistency, but that's what makes it look so good on the lids. Oh my geez, that is so pretty. Love, love, love that shadow. I'm bringing it to almost the inner corner of my lids, but I think I'm gonna reserve that section for the lighter shade that I've selected. So as you saw, I'm like basically out of glitter glue, and I am on a no buy this year, so I want to ask your opinion on what I should purchase for my glitter glue when the time comes, and if I feel like I need it. And just like looking at this, like I'm pretty sure I do need a glitter glue in my life. This is just so incredibly beautiful, and it wouldn't have this much impact if I was using just my finger or just a wet brush or something like that. It just wouldn't. I have played with this in that way. So I wanted to know your opinion on what glitter glue do you recommend that I should pick up. I previously used the NYX glitter primer. I had that and it was really good. It really did like glue things down. It really did stick, but the packaging on mine was so faulty because the nozzle was like so small. It was so narrow. The product was so thick and it was like so glue-like that it just got clogged up one day and it broke, and there was no saving it because once it was exposed to air, like the product just went tacky. So unfortunately, I have hesitation with picking that up, but I do think that that's like the only other option out there. This e.l.f. one is no longer available, even though it's really good. It just is no longer something that they make. Anyways, I'm gonna move into Rose Quartz, which is that like light pinky, almost peachy tone right there. And I'm just going to apply this into the inner corner. I'm going to use my pinky finger so that I can get a little bit more of a precise application. That is so beautiful. And I've created like this gradient of pink to purple to blue. Oh, I love that. I think that looks so incredible. Speaking of my no buy, I'm definitely going to be wanting to do more videos like these ones, just using like older makeup, old makeup that obviously I already own because I'm not purchasing anything new. So let me know if there's any particular palettes from my collection that you want to see featured in some sort of capacity. And yeah, I'll definitely do more like tutorial kind of stuff this year. I really want to play with and enjoy the collection that I have. And part of that is, you know, sitting down and creating new and fun looks with what I already own. So yeah, let me know if there's anything in particular you want to see in the coming months. I have officially used every single shade from the color palette except for Good As Gone, which is that matte chocolatey kind of brown shade. So I am going to create kind of a wing, I think, using that shadow. Just trying to find a liner brush. I think what I'm going to do is kind of make it a little bit smoky on the lid space, and then to create the wing I do want something that's a little bit more precise. So I'm going to go into Good As Gone with this tiny little smudger brush and just apply that so it's a little bit more diffused along the lash line so it can give some definition but not be, you know, too harsh. I like how that creates a little bit more depth and definition, but it actually doesn't distinctively look like I have a brown on there. And then I am going to use this EcoTools liner kind of brush. I don't typically use this because it's not that super precise, but maybe that's the kind of vibe I'm going for with this like more messy metallic look here. So I think I'm gonna need a setting spray in order to really get a more crisp line. So I'm going to try my best to like really get the product onto this brush on both sides evenly and really work it into the brush. And then I'm going to tap off the brush, and I want to spray my brush as well. I'm just using my Pretty Fresh setting spray. It's the only one that I have in my collection. And then see how that kind of applies. If it creates a little bit more of a defined line. It's very, very light. Okay, I'm gonna try to get a little bit more product on. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. It still is very soft, But I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's coming out actually a bit more soft than expected. So here's what it looks like with the wing. I really, really like it. So I've used all 5 of the colors and I just think this looks so cohesive. It looks so, so beautiful. But I feel like I am incredibly close to pan on Riff. In fact, I think there is the teeniest, tiniest little fleck of pan. So let's just intensify Riff in order to see if we can hit pan on it. Yes, there's a tiny, teeny little pan there now. Oh my God, it's like barely even noticeable. Can you see it? It's the most tiny, tiny pan I've ever hit. It's right there, right there. I'm going to just use this to kind of add a little bit more definition on the outer corner, seeing as I have it on my brush now. Actually, that looks really pretty, having that little bit of warmth. I thought I wasn't gonna like the warmth there, but actually, that looks really freaking pretty. I'm really happy with the way that these are holding up on my face, actually. This is really good, and it did prevent a lot of fallout from falling onto my face, which is fabulous. So I'm going to be taking these off so that I can wash them up. And now my under eyes feel super hydrated and they're nice and clean, which is amazing. So amazing. I'm actually gonna hop off camera and finish up the rest of my makeup so we can complete the eye look. I love to do my lower lashes after I have my concealer and every other product on my face, just so that it really is tied in and it's nice and clean that way. So the base, cheek, brows are all on, and I do feel like I'm getting a better picture of what this whole look is going to look like. And after being like up close and personal, I'm realizing how much I lost the blue. So I want to add a little bit more blue back just around where this wing is. I feel like that'll also help make that shape look a little bit more intentional there. So I'm just going in with Big Sky again on this tiny little brush. This is actually the one that I used with the dark brown before to create that intensity, but I just wiped it off, and I'm just gonna bring this kind of around the wing. I just think having that little bit more of the blue is really nice too. Make things a little bit more dimensional. And then I'm gonna use the exact same brush. I just kind of did a quick little wipe off, and I'm gonna go in with Good as Gone, which is the darker brown shade, and I'm gonna use that on the outer portion of my lower lash line just to kind of connect it to the wing up above. And then I don't know what else I'm gonna do on the lower lash line quite yet. I'm feeling very conflicted. So I think what I wanna do is go in with the shade Crystal, which is the one that's in the middle of the lid. And in order to ensure I don't get a lot of fallout from that, I am going to use my glitter glue again, and I'm gonna apply this with my brush. So I'm going to just try to get a little bit onto the back of my hand. Oh no. I'm literally like trying to conserve as much of this product as possible, and I just wasted so much trying to get it on the back of my hand. I'm gonna have to repurchase something sooner than I think I originally expected, but anyways, I'm just gonna try to use the smallest amount from the back of my hand, and I'm just gonna work it into the tip of this brush here, and I'm going to apply it to kind of the majority of the lower lash line using the brush, because I just can't get this kind of precision with my finger. But I do think the tackiness is really crucial with this eyeshadow formula. And then there still is some glitter glue on the brush, which will help to pick up the shade, but I'm just going into Crystal, tapping off the brush, and I'm going to apply where I put that glitter glue down. I'm not applying any new product, but this is the brush that I had Riff on, and I'm just gonna use that to kind of blend out the edges of Blue Sky, where I've kind of reinforced it a little bit. And then I'm going to use this on the lower lash line as well. Again, there's absolutely no new product. I'm just trying to kind of blend things together a little bit more. And then lastly, I'm just gonna use the exact same shade that's on that inner corner, which is called Rose Quartz. And I'm going in with a little bit of a larger kind of defining brush here, and I'm going to apply this to the inner corner. I do find this shadow doesn't really pick up really well on a brush at all, but I'm just gonna try to pack it on. Alrighty, so mascara is on, and I amped up the blush a little bit. Hair is down, and that is the completed look with the color palette that I randomly generated. So this little color story right here is all applied to the eyes, and I freaking love the way that it came together. I love the way that blues and purples pair together, and Oftentimes when I reach for the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette, my most used shade is the shade Crystal from here, and one of my most used shades from this palette here is also Big Sky. So it just worked out very perfectly that I was able to use some of my favorites from both of these palettes in tandem together. I actually think in a couple months time, I should probably do a take 2 of this palette bingo and literally do 3 shades from this, 2 shades from this, and see what else happens, because it could go more green, it could go more blue, it could go more neutral, it could really go in so many different directions, and I had so much fun creating this look. So yeah, that is everything for today's video. Please let me know how you would have created a look with these 5 shades, but yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone!
What? What? You gonna go run?